Yep, seeing it now.
Oh, okay. Should be in presentation mode now.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's get started. As Paula will explain later, we have developed this tool for economic analysis, and the tool requires model inputs. And because of the folks like Missouri and West Virginia, we decided to try the shift model, which is able to accommodate all the states in a consistent manner. So we went with the shift. There is already training has already been done on the shift model, and that documentation and stuff can be referenced on the ITTS website. So the shift model, just a brief overview for the purposes of this specific application. It has a 2014 base year and a 2040 forecast year. The extent is national, but it's focused on the southeast, with Texas being the most westerly in terms of the focus area, and Virginia in the north. And this is just a map with what the network looks like. It is implemented using Transcad, which is one of the main travel modeling applications out there. You have Cube as well and some others. It's similar to the statewide models, but the network detail is a bit lower because the scale is larger, and the analysis scale and stuff is generally at a higher level. So for the networks that we use to compile the outputs, we have the base year condition, and it's located at if you download the input, the files that I provided, and not change the basic folder structure, you should be able to replicate this folder location. And similarly for the forecast year, as mentioned, depending on your local machine and how you set up the folders, you may need to modify those that path accordingly. In the terms of the network itself, for our purposes, we need specifically the length attribute and the truck attribute, the daily flow attribute, and also the state code and the county code, so that we can compile the results by relevant geography. And this is just a screenshot of the attributes in the shift network opened up in Transcad. The shift network, however, we noticed didn't come with a free flow speed, but a free flow speed is available from the LATS network, which is pretty much the same network. So we just use GIS techniques to join the LATS network to the shift network, and then copy over the free flow speed attribute so that we have that as well. That we need the free flow attribute to be able to calculate delay. So we have the congested and the free flow, and then the difference would be the delay per link, and then we summarize that. For 2 states in the region, we compile the results by REMI instead of by county. Georgia and Mississippi are those examples. Louisiana also does REMI, but it's a single REMI region, so it's the entire state. That simplifies things. This map just shows the REMI regions for Georgia. The 2016, the current REMI definition. For Mississippi, we have a table that references the REMI regions to the specific Mississippi counties, and we use that to then populate the shift attribute. We add another shift attribute called region, and we use we populate that attribute with these relationships using GIS techniques. The scripts that actually do the summarization are then located in this specific folder structure, under the shift script folder, and we have 18 different scripts for each for the base and the forecast year for each of the 9 regions that we are analyzing, from Arkansas through to West Virginia. To run the scripts, we need to open up the transcad, and we go to if you go to the menu at the top and then go down, you'll see an attribute called, you'll see an option called GIS Developers Kit. And it will, when you click on that, you will get this pop-up dialog box or icon dialog box. And within that dialog box, you will see several icons. The two icons on the left are the ones that we are interested in. The one to the far left compiles the script, and then the one beside it with the 3 arrows pointing to the right runs the compiled script that we developed. For each of the states, we report by specific geography. For as mentioned, for Georgia and Mississippi, we report by a REMI region. From Louisiana, it's the entire state, which is one REMI region, and then for the remaining states, we report by county. So going back to the script, once we click run, that run on that dialog box, we get these additional dialog boxes. So to run the script, you'll see that test and add-in box, the upper box, and in the name text column or text box, you put, if you enter summarize outputs, that will, and then click OK, that will launch the run. If you have other files open, you may get a second dialog pop-up box that asks if you want to save the whatever work you have before the run is launched, because it basically clears everything before launching the run. So it's up to you to determine how you'd like to handle that, if you have stuff that you need to save or not. The outputs from the script are a set of data DBF files, and these files contain the VMT, VHT, and delay for reported by region or county, and in the case of Louisiana, by the entire state. So it's just a single line. And then for each of the metrics, the VMT, VHT, we report we break down the trips into commute, leisure, business, and trucks. I should mention that those purposes are determined based on some assumptions with regards to the travel modeling, trip purposes like home-based work and stuff. We use assumptions with regards to the proportions of specific types that roughly correspond with leisure and so on. And then this is just an example of the location of the DBF file in the outputs. It's the file. The DBF files are typically placed in the outputs folder for the relevant year that we are interested in. So in the case of the base year, it would be 2014, and similarly for the in 2040, it's 2040 forecast year outputs. And then once we have those DBF files, we can then go about populating the inputs in the format required for the feed tool. We typically need a base year build, a no build, a forecast year build, a no build, and as mentioned, we prepared a script file and script outputs for each combination. Then we go to change the specific files that we need, depending on how you set up the model, where you place your scripts and the actual network. If you leave it as is on the C drive and using the main feed folder, the box highlights the pathing that will work, and you'll be able to run the network using that. Whatever change, if you have a different folder structure, you'll have to change these paths accordingly to ensure that you're referencing the correct files for the correct scenario. And then this is just an example of the DBF output file opened up in Transcode, where we have, and this was shown for Georgia, and so we have the REMI region as the leftmost column attribute, and then you have the various metrics, the VMT, VHT, delay, for each of the various purposes: leisure, commute, business, and trucks. Once we have that, we go to the spreadsheet for the input to the feed tool. And this is an example of what this spreadsheet looks like for the tool. You'll see a build and a no build for each year. We have 4 additional tabs on the sheet to facilitate the importation of the DBF files and to format the files and into the correct order for the input sheet. So you go to each of the tabs for the specific scenario that you're interested in. You copy the DBF file inputs or outputs from the model to these sheets, and then it will automatically populate. As I went back a bit, it will automatically populate each of the specific rows in the input tool. This was just an example of the various geographies by which we do the reporting. And this is just a general overview of the shift network, which much more detail can be found on the ITTS site, and it explains as well why we broke down the trips into purposes. We borrowed from the relevant statewide models or neighboring statewide models in the case of states that have none. And so the statewide models, we have a separate set of scripts that were developed as well for states that want to run just that have their own statewide models and are just interested in that in their area. So and those are the files I uploaded yesterday and pointed to in the email earlier today. And some of the states use Transcode, some of the states use Cube. So in some of the states, the methodology would be similar to as described here in the shift, where we compile the script and then run the script. Whereas the ones and these are the Transcode files. For Cube, we would there's a different procedure because it's a different application, but the end result is basically the same: a set of DBF files with the reported metrics by reporting region. So, and then this is just a final conclusion. We use a shift model because it at least allows all the states to be compared. We can, and in some cases you may even be interested in an MPO level scale. And in that case, if you have an MPO model, we can use the same methodology at that scale to report the metrics. And so that's what I have. Thank you. Any questions? No questions?
And just as an FYI for you all on the phone, I've actually never ran the script. We always have our travel demand modelers run the scripts. So this is really just kind of a shortcut to keep them from, typically what we would do is we would supply our travel demand modelers with a worksheet and said, this is the data that we need to do our economic analysis. And then they were going off and writing individual scripts every time we sent them a spreadsheet. But with this, we keep a consistent format so they can do one script, and then they'll be able, anytime the model is ran, the travel demand modeler can run that script and then generate the format, the data that you need to run the feed tool in the format that's needed.
Right. Bruce, did you have a question?
No, I was just wanting to tell you whenever you're ready, just give me the command of the file and I'll share it with Paula. Unless you can switch directly to Paula. I don't know if you can do that or not.
Let me see. All right, so...
Yeah, try going to the people and then clicking on my name and see if you can make me the presenter.
Okay. Okay, right. Did that work?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, should be seeing the feet tool. Does everyone see that?
I see it. It's in Excel.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a screen of Paul in the upper left-hand corner. So I see it. I don't know if everybody else sees it.
They must be on mute.
Okay.
Oh, someone's not. Someone's having a party.
No, that's my other phone.
I was going to say, sounds like more fun than what I'm about to do.
Yeah. Actually, I found a punk rock version of the Hallelujah chorus. So.
All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started, and so we're going to go through the first two tools which you guys saw a preview of in Savannah. So this is once again, we're going to start with what we've called our own model tool, and basically this is the tool that you would use for any project or package of projects for which you can code into your network and run your travel demand model to evaluate the impacts of. Okay. So these are projects, once again, that can be evaluated with the travel demand model, hence the on-model tool, okay? So when we would start the analysis here, it's going to wake up here a little bit. And once again, we've included kind of this first sheet here. It's going to be just a quick reference guide. Hopefully, once you go through this a few times, if you're using it on a regular basis, you may become familiar, so you're not going to necessarily have your user's guide right there with you, but this would be a quick reference just to tell you again what each of these tabs are going to do. There's also notes on the bottom here that if it is in orange, that these are user-required selections, but there's a drop-down box that you will select from. If it is in green, then it's direct user-required input. Okay. So then we can and you can go to any of these buttons, any of these tabs here just by clicking on the button. So we're going to start with tab 1. I was going to try to do an Arkansas example today since I knew that they were going to be on the phone, but I didn't have I couldn't find any travel demand modeling output that was ready to be used. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed using the Mississippi data, but I'm happy to do another call if we can get some Arkansas output, and I can work with Sheldon because I know he's done some model runs in the past. I should have checked on that earlier in the week to get that prepared and everything, but we can certainly do that for you guys if you'd like.
Paula, do you want to hold off on that until we do that final call at the end of the month that we were talking about?
Yeah, that'll be fine. We can do that. All right. So here, once again, you set up your parameters. This is really setting up where you're going to add in the names and some saved files so that whenever this thing goes to save some files, you're telling it where you want it to save your files, okay? So project name, we're just going to do training August 3rd here, okay? For the model save file, you can just go in, and I already have a training August 3rd folder. So I'm going to copy that and paste it. Now, one change that I did make, I will be uploading slightly revised versions of these spreadsheet files, but I didn't want to confuse people and do it between the two training versions. But one of the things was, if you recall, and I'll make the change in the user guide as well, previously you had to go back up here and add in a backslash. I've eliminated the need to do that and just built that into the macro itself. Okay, so now what I do is you can your user guide actually goes through a pretty detailed process of setting up separate folders for each one of these file save paths, and if that's the way you want to organize it, you can do so. This is really up to the user on how they choose to organize their files. I tend to just put all of mine in the same folder so that I'll have all of mine coming together into this one folder, and so by doing it that way, I can simply do a copy and paste to put the same file path in all of these blocks. But you can have those separated if you like. Okay. So once you get that part done, then you want to make sure, and again, you saw me kind of use my slide bars here. You want to make sure that you always check and make sure that these slide bars are all the way over when you start on a sheet. So then you come down through here. Once again, you're looking for anything that is orange or anything that is green because those are where the user has to make a selection. Okay. So for the passenger wage, again, that's in a orange. So you can use county level wage rates or you can use state average wage rates. So it really just depends. What I think that you should probably guide this on, for example, I know that with Louisiana, they have a single region REMI model, so they just use a statewide. Their whole state is one single region, so they would probably want to use the statewide average standard here. Everyone else, you would more than likely be using the county, because even if you're evaluating a project that crosses a lot of counties, or maybe you have statewide projects, the fact that this is being driven off from your travel demand model, your travel demand model data is going to be aggregated to the county level. So you'll still get your changes by county or by REMI region. If it's by REMI region, then using county level wages actually uses an average of those counties that may comprise a single region. Okay, so most of the time for this, you're going to be using the county level, but we did give you the option to use the statewide level. Okay. The other items down here are some assumptions there, and so we give you kind of the value, the units, and then another little descriptor here if it's a mode or a specific type. And then we also give you some sources and some potential direction if you need to, like for example here where we have the annualization factors. These are kind of industry standards that we've used here, so it just tells you why we've selected what we've selected here. Okay, so if you go down through here, so again, you have your values in terms of occupancy rates, vehicle operating costs there. You also have your annualization factors for your commute and business, your leisure and your trucks, and then just your conversion factors for your grams to metric tons and long tons. The next, you come down through here and you have your crash cost and your emission cost here. You do have the ability to go in and you know, make some changes to these if you like. You can see here it says safety. There's a lot of sheets that contain the data for this that are hidden. So by going in and looking at those hidden tables, if you want to use, instead of using the source of data, if you want to use your state-specific data, you can add that and then just to have these cells refer to that data. All right. So then when you get into the simulation options down here, this is where you have orange and green, so you're going to have to make a selection here. So the options are to choose between REMI and M-Plan. So we're using Mississippi. They use a REMI model here. And then choose between the states or the region. So again, we have regions here, and so we'll use the region. Our state selection is going to be Mississippi. And then your travel demand model base year, you just have your drop-down menu to select the base year for your travel demand model. And then your future years, it can actually go beyond 2040 if you're in the process of updating that travel demand model. I know a few states have updated to 2045. The travel demand model interim year, you're going to enter a number, or you can say none here. But even if you enter a number and you're not going to use it, you'll have the option down here to say yes or no. Okay, and then so we'll have our starting analysis year. This is the year in which you want the benefits or the impacts to actually start to be analyzed. Okay, so by selecting this, even though you may have travel demand model data in there for previous years, it's not going to actually start your benefit calculation and your impact calculation and therefore produce the data for your economic model, your REMI model, until the year that's in this box right here. And then you have your end analysis. So you can, the next is your construction start year and your construction end year, and then your opening year of infrastructure. Okay. And then only if you're using the REMI model here, you would put in your REMI. And here's a little note here that where you can actually find that information on your REMI model if you're not familiar with that. Okay, so then once again, you can go down here. This is your interim model, and then this is use your daily or your time of day model runs. Most statewide models are daily. However, Arkansas, you do have a time of day, so then you would use the peak and the off-peak. And then we also included a toggle switch here for including the fatality impacts, which is actually putting a value based upon the statistical value of a life. So you can toggle that yes or no. If you're doing this for federal grants, you'll want to toggle yes. And then use user-defined or default crash rates. If you're going to use user-defined, then you have to fill them in here. I would recommend using user-defined if you're on a specific facility, if you're evaluating one project and it's a specific facility for which you know what the crash rates are, or because of the type of facility, then you can enter facility type specific crash rates. Otherwise, the user-defined are going to be just your statewide crash rate. Okay. And then the federal emission standards, again, there's a toggle switch here for yes or no on that. And once again, if you're using this for federal grant purposes, you'll want to keep that toggled on to yes. All right, so before we proceed with our confirming the set, or we can do that, and it'll take it a minute to run, you always want to confirm your selection, because what this does is it populates the model with the remaining tool, makes visible the worksheets that are relevant. So since we're using a REMI, it's going to populate and make visible the REMI input and the REMI output sheet. If you're using M-Plan, it would be the M-Plan input and the M-Plan output sheets. And then it also populates your travel demand model data and all the rest of your sheets with your correct region names. So any questions or comments? While we're waiting on this? And don't forget, if you're speaking and I'm not responding, you may be on mute.
Hi, Paula. It's Travis.
Yes.
See at the bottom of the sheet, there's some text. Is that just legacy text? It's got discount rates and such at the bottom.
I would not, do not delete any of that text. We have some hidden text and some hidden numbers throughout the spreadsheets. Those are sometimes used to index sheets, and they may be used in the formulas. So,
okay,
that's a good point. Thank you. Okay, so it looks like we okay. So once it stops processing, you know that you're ready, and we can proceed to step A. So you're like, well, wait a minute, I don't see, any county names or anything. So don't forget that you have to go, even though these may look like they're all the way over, doesn't necessarily guarantee it. So as we start to go over and get to the very corner, then we start to see this region number 1 and a region name. So if you come to this sheet and it's all blank up there, then you know that you need to toggle and get all the way over to the left-hand side, to that column D, okay? All right, so for here, we're going to go in and pick up we need some input data now. Let's see where I have this input data. Here we go. Okay, so this is going to be the data that we're going to use for input for the Mississippi example. So first of all, you want to look, so we have a no build, a build, and we don't have any interim year data, okay? So then we're going to want to, this is where we're going to do the copy and the paste. So we'll take from the input sheet, and then we're going to go to the model sheet here. And so we know that since our 2040 and our build scenarios are back-to-back on our model sheet, we can actually copy and paste both of those in one move. Just want to make sure that we put it down here in the 2040 and not the 2030. And then we can scroll down and see it populated the no build 2040 and then the build. Okay, and then we'll come and get our build 2040 data here. Okay, so just kind of checking our data and seeing that we have it in there. Make sure we go up and we have data where we're supposed to, and we don't have it where we're not supposed to. So we go all the way through our regions, and we have it in the years that we're supposed to. So at this point, we'll click there, and then you'll see down here on the bottom on the ribbon where it's telling you that it's calculating. And depending upon your machine and the speed of it, it'll go faster or slower. And if it's really slow and clunky, then it may just stop it.
Oh, you don't have a script that plays like Muzak or something like that while it's waiting?
I know. I should have. I thought that was your role.
Okay.
You'll see, once it's finished, then it's going to automatically advance you to this step 2C, which is the annualized travel demand. So you'll notice that we put in 2 years of data. So we had we put in for a 2010 and we put in for a 2040, and now it's taken those 2 years of data and it's interpolated between those 2 years so that we get an annualized stream of data here. And you'll notice over here, I think, Travis, what you're talking about before, we have some of this data. In some places, we have it actually grayed out so you don't see it, but this is actually being referenced in some of the formulas and everything. So, you know, don't go in and just do a clear cut or a delete on any of these pages because there's some things that are hidden in there that's needed for calculation purposes. Okay, so what you're going to see here is that, again, it will line up your regions. It's going to give you your build by year, your no build by year, and then you'll come down here and you'll see your differences. There's nothing that you as the user have to do on this page. It's really there for the detail that if you get somewhere and something just doesn't look right to you, it allows you to kind of go back and see what's going on here. And so these next few sheets are really those interim calculation sheets to provide those interim steps and the data that can be used for troubleshooting or really providing a little more detail in terms of the aggregate results that'll show up in the reports. Okay, so this sheet then becomes the sheet that really drives the calculations all the way through the benefit cost analysis, okay? Because it is from this sheet that the safety, the emissions, and the user cost all pull from, and then the BCA pulls from each of these individual sheets. Oh. Sorry, it's doing us. Okay, so these next 3 buttons, again, just kind of walk you through the sheets here to show you what's going on. It's going to give you, again, by county, what the number of crashes here and then the monetized value of that. So this is the only place where we're really showing the number of crashes for you. So when you look at the benefit cost, we're really just looking at the monetized value. But if you want to step back and say, well, what's the associated reduction in crashes? Then this is where you would find that information. And the same thing with the emissions. With the benefit cost, we're really concerned with the monetized value, but if you want to look at the actual reduction in the emittance themselves, then that's going to be found on this sheet. And then for the user cost, once again, this is really going to break it down into a lot of detail to give you a lot more detail in terms of the VMT, the VHT, the delay, and then it'll start to break it down into the fuel gallons, and then the fuel costs and the vehicle operating costs, and then finally the value of time. Okay, so this gives you a little more detail than, again, these summaries would give you. So then you can go to the benefit cost, and so this is where it's going to start to pull in all of your undiscounted benefits and then do the calculations for your benefit cost. This is also where you, the user, you're going to have to enter in some cost information up here. And once again, you have your toggle switch, and this is your discount rate, so you can toggle between 3% and 7%. And the reason we've included both of those is because for the grant application process, you're required to use 7%, but they also permit you to present the same information using a more realistic discount rate of 3%. Okay, so we can just, I don't have actual cost information that would go with this sample data, but we can go ahead and start to enter sum in up here. So let's just say this was for a statewide STIP. So let's just say that on average they're going to spend $600 million for their STIP. And we said the construction period was going to be 3 years. And then there'll be some ongoing operations and maintenance from that particular. So we'll just say it's going to be $1.5 million. And I have no clue what this is going to end up looking like. So we just went through 2040. So then you'll see that it's populating over there with your cost data. And then it's going to finish populating down here with the results, with your undiscounted cost, your undiscounted benefits. And then all of a sudden you have both, and you get a benefit cost ratio of 4.6 and an internal rate of return of 47%. Okay. When you go over here, again, these are your summary reports from your benefit cost analysis. Table A just gives you a summary of what's included. So your start year, your end year, the total number of years. This is the discount rate that you used and some of your other kind of parameter setup. So this is all pulling from that step 1 parameters. And then table B gives you your discounted benefits by your regions here, and it'll break it down by your different benefit classes here. So this will give you some geography to that. And then table C rolls everything else up together. We've got some references here. Oh, yeah, those should just be, this jumped around a little bit on me there. Okay, there we go. So, and you'll notice here that we do have the freight logistics cost savings in there, and I forgot to mention this, Bruce, on the last, on the Tuesday's training call. But one of the things that we did since Savannah was we did go in and we added in the differentiated on that. If you look at the benefit cost, we have the freight logistics cost savings. And so what we've done there to calculate that is that since this has to cover a lot of states, and typically if you're doing a specific project, you're going to use a lot of stakeholder input to get at this estimation. But USDOT had issued some guidelines that said that kind of a rule of thumb was that that 15% of your total value of time savings was kind of a minimum level of logistics cost savings that you could expect. And so we've just incorporated the USDOT guidelines on this. And I did add that to the user's guide, so it is in there. And then Table D just gives you some of the detailed. It gives you the aggregate on some of those detailed information that we had talked about in terms of the number of crashes. But if you want to know by area, then you can actually go back to the sheets themselves. But at least we do summarize it here for you in total. Okay, so that really gets you through the benefit cost portions. That's going to be the same for all the states. So just pause here and see if there's any questions or comments or concerns.
Hey, Paula, just a sidebar. I noticed that there are some of the links in this document are not defined. Like the link was messed up when you did the save, or it got moved. The actual Word document, not on the Excel chart.
Oh, the Word document.
Right.
When you say the link,
you have like some links to figures and some links to pages, and they're just not correctly coded.
Okay, I didn't know that I had links in the document actually.
No, it's just, like the figure's not correctly labeled.
Okay.
And then I was looking through it real quick. I was trying to see if there was actually the screen that you have here, that you have up on the one that shows table A, B, C, D. Is that table actually?
You know what? I changed the look of this, and I probably need to revise this screenshot.
Right.
This was organized a little differently, and the font was smaller, so I tried to make it a little more visually appealing. So, and I changed it because used to Table A, and then Table B was at the bottom of that, and you really didn't see hardly any of Table B. So I just moved them and changed the layout.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is when you do the Table A, B, it'd be nice if you just had that screenshot in that Chapter 2.11.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I forgot to replace the screenshot there, so I will do that.
Okay.
I'm making a note right now.
Oh, well, I did the same. Okay. And then that's, okay. Well, back to the states, is this pretty self-explanatory? Are you getting what you need out of this so far? Do you understand the framework with this?
I understand the framework, seemingly, but, I have the whole model issue here, so my opinion is probably not that critical.
Well, the thing for me is I'm just trying to make sure that, I think Paula did a very good job of laying it out. I think the user guide is follows through in the methodology report. And so I think overall I'm happy with what you delivered, but again, I'm not the one who actually has to use this and take it to their boss. So.
No, and I think that, there's things as we do any of these exercises, there's things that, I always make notes of how I would want to improve it if, we had more resources, if the budget would permit and stuff. There's ways to actually go in and automate the population of the travel demand model data by writing some scripts and stuff. And but I think that, for $70,000, we really kind of pushed this to the limit, and we did put a lot of our own sweat equity and R&D and things to kind of be able to combine all the states into a single spreadsheet, because then the other problem we run into is that it starts to really test the limits of what Excel can do because we put so much into this single tool. So I think that there's some of those things that certainly if you have staff there that are very capable and knowledgeable with macros and stuff, there may be some things that you may want to do with your particular state with your version of the tool and do some enhancements. And it's developed in a way we've not hidden anything that we've done that would be transparent for you guys to be able to do that. So.
Paula, I think the tool it looks wonderful from this side. Not a modeler, so can't help that. I'm actually think for where we are currently in our world of taking care of the system and really just trying to do things like that, I kind of think from Missouri standpoint, the ops model is going to be what we will use very frequently, more so than the on model, just because of our unique situation.
Right. Well, and the ops model, the good thing about it is you don't have to have a model to do that one. So
that's one of the reasons I think we'll be using it too.
All right, great. Okay. All right. Well, the next step then really gets into setting everything up for the actual economic model. Now, one of the key differences between M-Plan and REMI, I'm sorry for the states using M-Plan, you pay a heck of a lot less for your economic model, but it's a lot more work to use it. So, and it can be a little cumbersome. It is also a static model, so it's not going to do simulations and give you an annual stream of benefits. So what it's going to give you is 1 year of benefits, which would be the way in which we've set this up, is that when we generate the outputs, we're still doing the annual flow, and we're doing an average of the impacts. And so what you're going to get out of M-Plan is a set of numbers for a single year, and that's actually going to be your average annual impact, and then you would have to multiply that by the number of years that you're looking out at. With REMI, of course, you need annualized changes to put in there, and it'll give you an annualized stream of impacts. Okay. You're also, you can run, with REMI, you can upload and run all of your regions and all of your variables in a single batch and do one run. Within Plan, there's some limitations in terms of the number of regions you can do in a single run, and that limitation is 5. So if you're doing a project-specific analysis, a lot of times that's not an issue because you're probably not going to be impacting more than 5 counties at one time unless you have one of your larger MPOs and you want to do the whole MPO region. So within Plan, the way it's set up is if you have data in there for less than 5 regions, it's going to give you the input for all of your regions. And you can run those all in one run. If you have input in there for more than 5 counties, then what it's going to do is take the 5 counties with the largest impact and let you run that. Okay, so that's really being dictated by the limitations of the economic software more than anything else. Okay, so with Mississippi, they have the REMI model. So again, this is just doing all the calculations, getting the data organized in a way that's going to be necessary to generate the input for REMI. So then we would proceed to step 5. The first step, step 5 is or step 4 are the auto inputs. Step 5 are the truck inputs. And so then we go to step 6A, and this is the format of how REMI reads something in. So we run the saving macro here. And so what this is going to do is it's going to save your overall model spreadsheet under your in the model save path that you told it to using the project name. What that does is it allows you to keep a clean version of your model so that you're not overwriting that clean version of the model. And then it will also generate the REMI input file, which is going to be a text file. And it will save that in the REMI input file. For M-Plan, it'll do the same thing, only and once again, you will have told it where to save it. It's just that the files look different. And I actually, okay, so this is just our original input sheet. So we've already used that, so we can close it out. So what we can do now is, remember I told it to go to the training. This is where I told it to save it. So now we have the FEAT Econ Model August 3rd test. That was my project name. So it saved that. And then the REMI input with the same project name. Or actually,
my screen's black. We're not seeing what you're seeing.
My screen actually went back to showing the... Bruce, are you on? Because now I'm just seeing the host information screen. I'm wondering if Bruce lost connection since he's the host.
No, I'm still here. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Well, are you guys seeing my file folder?
No, we're not seeing anything. We're just seeing a gray box. What I'm going to do, Paul, is I'm going to take control back from you and give it back to you. Can you just give me control back, Paul, and I'll give it back to you?
Yes, okay.
So what do y'all see now? Just a gray screen?
Black screen.
I mean, I'm seeing the host screen, like the first one, freeconferencecall.com. It says host information. It's got the ITTS logo.
All we see on this end is the screen for participants. It says dial-in number, access code, and then it's black. When you went from the sheet, the REMI input sheet, and you said, here's where my files are, we didn't see anything from that point on.
Okay. All right, Bruce, are you going to try to make me presenter again to see if we can correct it?
I can't even get to the log on button. It's like it's froze up on my end. Hang on a second.
Oh, that may be the problem. Then you froze it.
I'm frozen. Yeah, I know. Let me just restart it. I mean, it's like I can see it. I just can't get to the screen. What do y'all see now?
Same thing. Bruce, we see your desktop now.
Okay, yeah, okay, so trying to get to Paula's, it's like I can't get to the screen to give you back control, Paula. Let's see. That is weird. I can see it here.
I just requested a control from you. Maybe if I send you a request, it'll
That's it. Request control over your keyboard and your mouse. Yes. That's like control my computer. That's not what we want. Okay, let me just, we're going to stay on the call. I'm just going to close this window out and restart it. I'm going to leave the meeting.
We have to all log back in then?
No, you should still all be on. I just got to restart my video screen. Like, for instance, I'm a host. It's already working. You should see a screen that says checking server.
No,
we'll
wait
share
for
this.
the presenter to share.
Let's see, Paula. Okay, I'll send it back to you, Paula. You see, I see the screen now. Do y'all see it?
Woohoo! Yes, we do.
Okay.
Okay, we'll blame Paula for this one, not me, obviously.
No, I think you froze it up. So anyway, so it did save, it had closed down the model, but it had saved it here with the training August 3rd, and it also saved the REMI input. So I've reopened the model, and now just to open up the REMI input file, this is what it looks like. Now, I've been working with REMI, I don't think Mississippi, they were on Tuesday, so they're aware of this issue, but because of the version of model that they have, it's printing out too many lines because they don't have as many regions as, for example, Georgia does. So we have to make sure that we present enough lines to capture all of Georgia. So the fix that REMI gave us is a manual one. They are working on an automated fix. It only impacts Mississippi and it would impact Louisiana since they only have one region. So what Mississippi has to do then is go in and actually delete all of these extra lines within their REMI input file. And then once that's done, they can save that, and then it'll be ready to use. Okay. So I know you guys don't have REMI probably, but we're going to still, I do have,
You went away again, Paula.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's just, I don't.
You still have, there it is, Transite, it popped up.
Yeah. It's just when I'm moving, I think when I'm moving between folders. So.
Yeah. I was like,
okay. Okay. So this is the Mississippi REMI model. So what you do here to start a simulation, so we'll just call this thing August 3rd training. And then you just need to look at as a 2040. If you change that, then it changes the year, but our year is 2040. It's all we have input for, so we're going to leave that on 2040. And then the only thing that they have to do is hit import, and then we just find the folder where we have saved the REMI input file, and click on that and hit open. And what it's doing is it's reading that in there and putting it into the correct policy variable spots within the REMI model. This may have frozen up too. It's not there. Okay, and so then when this pops up, that's when you know that your data's been read into the model. So we've put data, we've made changes to production costs, and we've made changes to consumer spending, fuel, and non-fuel. And then these are the various different lines that we've hit down here. So, and then we've had some consumption reallocation. Okay. And then from there, you would hit run. Oh, maybe I do have a key. But I don't have a key. This is not a valid key because this is an old model from where I was doing some previous work. So it will not run for me, but I did have MDOT actually run the model. And they sent me the output over. And it looks like this. So then this is what's going to come out of the REMI model. So once the model runs, then it's going to pop up a results screen, and all you have to do as a REMI user is go up to the export that's in the upper right-hand corner, and you're going to export all tables, and then you're going to save that. Okay, so once it's saved, it will save as an Excel file. You're just going to hit the upper left-hand corner. You're going to copy that. You're going to go back to the feet tool, proceed to step B, and paste it into here. Okay? So then once it's pasted, oops. Must need to. Okay. Yep. Oh, no. Sorry, that was a little hyperlink I was trying to make. I think I hit the wrong thing. Okay. This is the problem. The sheet's gotten so big that can. It's very sensitive when you try to rush it.
Well, I don't think that's limited to Excel spreadsheets.
Okay, that was the issue. It didn't have the file wasn't unhidden. So anyway, so then here's a file where we can put in terms of the impact summary parameters. For M-Plan, the good side of being an M-Plan user is your output is already summarized for you when it comes out of the model. So here you actually have this long sheet of results here. For every region, you have all of these variables and everything. So what we've done then is just created a sheet that that will bring it all together. So once again, I'm not sure what this is still thinking on me. The economic impact summary parameters that you'll see there, and then your economic impact results. So for this particular batch of projects here, it's going to give rise to over the study period from 2017 or from 2020 to 2040. About 257 jobs. I'm going to have to check these. This thing is really finicky on me. Okay. Let's see if it'll go. Okay, so now here we went to the GIS, so we created the GIS tables. So if we go back to here, we had told it to put the GIS tables in the training, and now you're going to see your GIS tables that you would have in there. Okay. And then once you produce that, you have your benefit cost summary report, your economic impact summary report, and then you have your GIS files that you would then go into ArcGIS, and the user guide shows you how to pull these in and actually link these particular files. And it's gotten mad at me. Oh, there's not enough memory. Okay. So the good news is that was wrapping up the on-model file demonstration. Any questions or comments on that?
Paula, a question I had on the tab where we got to the BCA and the summary of that.
Yes.
We used the travel demand models to get to that position, right?
Correct. So no matter what state you are, if you're using travel demand, and for you, you would have your shift model. So if you had your shift model output and you'd put that into the tool, that behaves exactly the same for all the states.
Okay. I want to make sure I'm understanding.
Yeah. So the only thing that gets different between the states is after that benefit cost, and it depends on whether you're a REMI user or an M-Plan user.
But if I was just trying to use this to do my analysis for benefit cost, actually, and give me something I can compare relative projects, I could have really stopped there.
Yeah, absolutely.
M-Plan or REMI or TransSearch or whatever I'm using, I can stop right there, right?
Correct. Absolutely, you can.
And that gives me a valid comparison.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. The only thing is that, and I hadn't thought about this, but that brings up a good point, Cheryl. If you're not actually going to take it all the way through to the economic impact, is that the auto save buttons only come in whenever you're creating your REMI or your M-Plan files. So you would want to make sure that if you're going to stop right there, that you save. So one of the things that you would want to do a save as, or you're going to overwrite your key model.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Thanks.
Okay, I may be able to, before we post the final, I could probably add in the option to save it at that point at the benefit cost and just not close it out, but go ahead and save it to keep you from overriding.
I think it could work either way as long as we know to do it. You know,
right.
It might even just be in the manual that says, if you're going to stop here, do this. Because I think we may be able to figure out internally the BCA is what, in general, we're using for some of our programming discussions. So I think that could help us.
All right, super. All right, any other questions? All right, let's see if we can make this thing like me again. Okay, so now we'll go to the ops model. All right, so this is the FEET ops model. So this is the economic analysis tool for operational improvements. This one is much more sketch level, as is the rail model. So for here, but it also, because it is more sketch level, it means that as a user, you have to have far less information. However, if you do have a detailed report that gives you some of the detailed information, it allows you to take advantage of that and override some of the default values that are in here. So once again, set up just like the ON model where we have this quick reference guide, same kind of notation. If it's in orange, then it's a drop-down menu for the user to select. If it's in green, then the user has to provide some information. So if we go to step 1, you're going to set this up in the same way. So you're going to name the project, and then you're going to go back here and you're going to tell it where to save it. So I'm going to create a new folder here, maybe. All right, and then this is where I'm going to save these particular ones. Now I'm hoping this doesn't bite me. I made a little change to one of the macros before we came on. So, all right, so here, once again, make sure you're all the way up to the top. Once you have those, your file paths named and everything, then you can go into your wage rate. So you have the same selection here, county or statewide. We'll keep it at county. You have your same kind of conversion factors and your safety and emissions. And then here, once again, you'll have your M-Plan, your state, you'll choose your discount rate here, and then you'll have your starting analysis year and your end analysis year, your REMI base year, and then whether or not you want to estimate your fatality impacts. Now, for the operations tool, we are only estimating value of time and safety impacts, okay? So we're not getting all of the estimation tools in here because it is sketch level. For this, I'm sorry?
On the crash costs, did you say that those were the ones, the federal highway crash costs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right. So let's try to do an M-Plan example here with Arkansas. So we can, once again, confirm our selection. All right. So we can proceed to, is it freezing up on me? Shoot. Shoot, Bruce, it may have been my computer freezing up on us earlier.
Because you're working it too hard.
It's not getting enough downtime at night.
You have to disconnect your Netflix account.
It's running. It's not letting me click anything right now. Let's give it a minute. Shoot. The Tuesday training went off without a hitch. And that's from the road. Normally you feel a little more comfortable when you're in your office. I don't know what's going on here. Might just have to close it out. It's just frozen. Okay, so let's pull it up. Fortunately, it's a quick one, so. It doesn't usually take this long to open them. All right, so let's get started again. We'll go by here. This is where we need the music.
So, Paul, as we're going through this, I wrote some more things down about the report and the templates and stuff. When can you and I schedule a call to talk through this, just you and I? I'll send you on my list first, so that way at least you have something to respond to.
Yeah, that'd be great if you can send me a list.
Yeah, because I've got about 10 things I've already jotted down, so.
I mean, I hate opening my calendar. It's got like 15 invites for more meetings, so. Let's see, probably.
No, we can determine that later. I was just in the time that was there. I was telling you I was going to put together my notes and send them to you.
Yeah, no, that's good. Are you going to be at SASHTO?
No.
Okay. Boy, I've really done something to make this mad. Okay. All right, so why does it keep linking? I don't know what it's linking to. Okay.
You might just have too many open programs.
I think that's what it is. So anyway, so you saw it pop over here. Once it got the confirm selection through, it's just taking a while because my computer's being slow right now. You have your number of projects up here. So you can do 100 projects if you want to do them all at one time. But let's just put in 2 and then hit confirm again, and hopefully it won't take so long. And then you'll get 2. So your project numbers, you need to leave those alone because the program uses those. If you have a separate project number, then use your project name to put in your agency specific number or name for your project, okay? And then, of course, the orange are going to be your drop down. So this is the list of the types of projects that you choose from. So just as we said in Savannah, sometimes there could be projects that have 2 components. And so within the user guide, it tells you, based upon the type of project, whether that's going to be a modest, moderate, or an aggressive type project solution. Choose the project type that has the highest level of impact if you have a project that has 2 components to it, okay? So let's say we're going to add a turning lane. The project motivation can either be operational, safety, or both. If it's for operational, we're going to estimate the value of time impact. If it's safety, we'll estimate the safety impact. If it's both, it will include both of those. Okay. The county or the region, again, if you're an M-Plan user or if you don't have an economic model, we set you up on the county basis. If you're a REMI user, it's going to be based upon your REMI regions, okay? So let's say Boone County is getting here, and we have 4,500 average annual daily traffic. So that's really all the data you have to have. If you have more data or better data, keep that close at hand, especially let's say if you're going to do an interchange. So a lot of times interchange, especially if you're going to do an innovative intersection, you're going to have at least an interchange justification report or something that's going to give you a little better information. So with these are typically both operational and safety projects. And let's say, Arkansas, have you guys done one of these somewhere?
Safety? No, we have not.
Okay. Let's say we'll do it in Pulaski, and this must be a pretty high volume, so we'll give it 8,600 in order to be doing. Okay. So once you have that information in, yes.
Question on the innovation one. When that pulls data, if we were doing a project where we were removing a pinch point, I have a vertical and horizontal clearance bridge going over my road, and I'm taking the clearance problems out. Would that be a good choice for that, or I'm not sure what it's going to evaluate and what it chooses?
For something like that, I think we actually have we have a bridge replacement. So we have a bridge replacement there. So if it's a vertical clearance, even if you're not going to be replacing the whole bridge, but you're fixing the issue, then that's the one that I would use.
Choose that for vertical, horizontal? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So for this, you can calculate and proceed to step 3, and it'll tell you your progress that you're making down here. And then the way we've set this up is that you're actually, from a benefit cost perspective, you're going to be putting them all together. But in terms of looking at your individual reports, an individual report like this is generated for each project that you put up there. So just because you're going to be using one tool to estimate 50 projects, you could still get an individual project report like this for each one of your projects. This is where we have a lot of the default values and the assumptions. So this is where oftentimes you could and will have a little better information, okay? So, for example, your average annual daily growth is, the default is 1%. If you know this is in a high growth area, then you should override that. Same thing with the truck volume. If you know it's a high truck corridor, then just type in, it's 20% instead of 10. So you type that in. And it's processing down here. And you'll see that the value used will be 20. Down here, the level of improvement. So this turning lane is considered to be a moderate improvement. And that means that the percent of the delay reduction the default is going to be 30%. If you think it's going to reduce it more or less than that, or if you have analysis that shows that it's more or less than that, then you can override that. This is the other one here too. This is probably right here. I would say these two are likely to be the ones that you would override the most, because the default is you're always going to assume it's level of service F, which means that it's going to have the highest range of delay per vehicle, okay? So you could either change it, like if you know that it's not you don't know what the delay is, but you know that it's a level of service D, then you can change that. And it automatically changes the delay to the default level of delay that's associated with level of service D. Okay. If you know what the delay is, then you can go ahead and just put in the no-bill delay in terms of seconds. Okay. Next, we have the number of congested hours per day, and then we also have the split in terms of the trip purpose. So once again, those are all really easy to change if you have better information. So again, and the more detailed information and project-specific information you have, the less sketch level this becomes. Okay, and then you'll see the same sort of things down here. So. Okay. Once you've changed all of your defaults and you've overridden everything that you want to, you can proceed. And then with the summary report, it does just wrap everything up into a total here. Okay. So once again, for your detailed project by project, you're going to get it from this. Your summary report is going to tell you as a package of projects, this is then your total benefit. Okay. So to go to step 4 then, this is where it starts to look at, well, how are we going to input this into M-Plan? And it's just going to go down to, you'd have to go all the way down to, what county did we use for the, I know we used Pulaski for one. So here's Pulaski County. That's where we said one of the projects was. So you'll start to see some of the data input here, okay? So this is really giving you kind of your annualized stream for autos. The same would be, so you're only going to have data show up here for the counties in which you designated within your project example. So here's the other county that we chose. Okay, so then you hit the calculate M-Plan inputs, and you'll see that the whenever we confirmed the selection of state, it automatically made these tabs down here visible.
Those are
Things must just take longer in Arkansas.
Well, you know, Virginia has that issue.
I know.
Did you say those are annualized costs on the tabs 4 and 5?
They're actually benefits, so, yeah. Or the changes, they're changes. It could be cost, but hopefully if you're doing a project investment, they're getting better. Okay, so you'll see that the model's closed, so it saved it and closed it, and then here's what the M-Plan input sheet's going to look like. Okay, so let's go back to our files here, and we said it's going to be oh, no, so, okay, so within the tool here now, it's actually inserted a sheet, the M-Plan sheet. So this is your input sheet for Pulaski County, and this is your input sheet for your Boone County. So those were the two projects, and then the two counties that we had. All right. So I do not have your M-Plan model. But when you do get with the M-Plan model, you would import. You would open up the import. You would create your event, and then you would import those spreadsheets. So here's your Boone County. You would save that, and then there's your Pulaski County. So you would import those two spreadsheets in, and then from there, like I said, it will actually give you, this is what the tables look like coming out of your M-Plan model. So you would just paste your total impact summary table from M-Plan in here if you wanted to keep it all within your tool. Okay. Questions or comments? All right, I'm going to close out some of these so that we can hopefully run the rail a little faster. Let this close out. All right. Okay, so next we'll go to the rail tool. Okay, once again, the rail tool is a sketch level planning tool, and it's very simple for the user to use. However, if you go to some of these hidden sheets that are here, there was actually quite a bit of work that went behind it. We have the diversion potential sheet, and what that's going to give you is giving you your state here, the classification of the commodity. and really kind of the range. And we ran a statewide rail model that really looked at the diversion potential and looked at the amount of commodities, rail divertible commodities that are in some of these major trade lanes and everything. So that's an important input into the tool. The other is that we had some average load information that we included in there. That's actually the average diversion potential. And so we have a low, assuming if you have a project that's going to give you low diversion potential, that you'd get about 5% of the traffic. A moderate would give you about 20% of the traffic, and then a high diversion potential would equal about 35% of the traffic. And then we have the average emissions, cost, and safety. Here's the average load that we have, once again, looking at the tons per loaded truck. So if you're diverting across these different commodities, we had to know how many trucks you were taking off to get into the calculations. So a lot of the even though the sheet itself, the tool itself looks very simple, there was, some work, a lot of work that actually went in behind it. But with that said, we all know that evaluating rail projects gets very time-consuming and requires a lot of resources and a lot of data. But what this can be used for is to kind of do that initial screening. Is this a project that could be worth pursuing? And I think the other thing that it allows you to do is say, how much traffic would we need to divert in order to make it feasible to do, to make it worthwhile? And so if it's a moderate diversion versus a high diversion, does that make a big difference in terms of it being feasible? So it does allow you to do some quick kind of screening of potential projects in that way.
Paula, is there a user's guide for this?
No, we are developing that, and so I said that because we need to put the methodology in there, and my fault, I had failed to ask the gentleman from our modeling group who actually ran the diversion to be writing that up for me, so he needed a little more time to do that.
No problem, I just had lost it.
Okay. All right, so we will start the analysis here. You can put in your project name. Oops. And then we have three types of projects here. We have an intermodal yard, a track upgrade up to your 286,000 pounds, and then a double tracking. Now note the double tracking could also be used for a siding project. A siding project is going to have a lower diversion potential than a double track main line would have, so you'll just have to recognize that. So you could put in, let's say it's a double track, and we think this is either, again, you can have low, moderate, or high. We think that this is going to be a moderate type of diversion, and then you can tell it where you want it to save the model. So once again, this one I made a couple changes on it after our training on Tuesday. I have not uploaded the new model. I didn't want it to get confusing. So your spreadsheet's not going to have the project name and the model save path on it yet, but I'll upload this one there. Okay. You can choose your state, so we'll leave this one in Georgia. Your discount rate right here, again, you can use your 3 or your 7%. You have your starting year analysis. Let's say this would start in 2020. The end year would be 2040. You have your same toggle switches for your fatality and your CO2. And then you also have a growth rate that you need to put in here, and this is your freight annual growth rate. And since all of you either have recently or you're in the process of completing your state freight plans, you should have some pretty good information on your growth rates. All right, and then the same thing here, you'll have some of the same types of assumptions that have been used in the other tools as well, and it gives you the units, the mode, and kind of the source and the directions. Okay, so that's really all you have to enter in here, and then you can proceed. And then this gives you really your benefit stream. So it starts in 2020, and the benefits accrue out to 2040. And you can see here that you have your diversion potential. So this is the number of truck miles that would be diverted. This would be your freight rate savings, your congestion savings, and then we have your emissions, we have road maintenance savings, and then your safety savings or impacts. Okay. And then for your VCA, once again, here's the 50,000 lurking around in there. That's pretty low for a rail project. So, but here is you're getting an error on your benefit cost. Oh, this is where we had that. I knew there was something I was supposed to fix. Oh, yeah. So this is another one of those where we have some hidden figures up here. Okay, it's because we're going out to 2040. So this is trying to calculate, and it doesn't have values there. So I'm going to change the formula to make sure that it just puts a 0 in there. So that's all I have to do there, and then you would get your discounted cost and be able to calculate rest of these. Okay. And then you could proceed.
What 0 did you have to put in?
I'm sorry?
Where did you say you had to put in a 0 to get it to calculate?
No, the only thing that the user is going to have to put in is going to be your cost information up here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I said I personally need to fix this formula in this cell because it should be returning a 0 there. So I just need to fix the formula and make sure that it returns a 0 because it's trying to multiply a 0 by something and it's given that value.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll make sure I do that in the files that I upload, the revised files. Okay. All right. So then this once again gives you your summary table. So it talks about your project parameter summary, type of project, the truck to rail diversion potential, growth rate. Sorry. And then it also gives you your VCA summary here too. And then you can save your file. And you'll notice that it's changed the name up here to the name of the project. And we go to the training, and it's going to have your model file saved there as well. Okay, so on this one I will I have a note to, and I meant to do this because this came up on Tuesday and I meant to do it before today, is I'll correct these and then the other changes that we've added in that save function as well based on input from Tuesday. Okay. Questions or comments?
All right, just keep going, Paula.
All right, well, that's it.
Okay, well, if no one has anything else to add, we can just say that this is finished, and I'll start cutting the videos and pasting them.
Okay, and then I think as Bruce and I have discussed is that we'll get the user guide. He'll get me the list of his comments. If you guys have any additional comments or questions, I guess send them to Bruce and he can compile all of those. He'll get them back to us, and then we will repost everything in their final form and then send that out to everyone. And then I think Bruce wants to do one final closeout call once you guys have a little bit of time to look over the absolute final versions of things.
Thank you so much. I personally will tell you, I think this is a tool that will help us in our daily integration of freight into our core. So I appreciate that.
Well, great. Well, I hope so. I mean, you know, I really do hope that it is something that the states find useful. If there's any sort of, you know, again, comments or even suggestions for us on, as a user, things that we could do to improve down the road, I certainly would appreciate hearing that back as well.
Thank you, Paula. This is Virginia. Thank you for walking through it again today. Travis, do you have any thoughts?
Once I get a chance to run the model with some of our data, I may have thoughts then.
Yeah, and also, Travis, I know that we're going to be working using M-Plan for the I-30 project and everything. So if it makes sense as we're doing that, we can set up, since that's under a different task order and a different project, we can set up and maybe have Isabel even kind of walk through how she's pulling the data into M-Plan and everything with you with that.
Okay. Well,
that was great.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, like I said, I need a chance to look at it with our data, and we'll just go from there. And if Isabel's available for some further training, that would be awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I think especially as it relates, because like I said, we'll be getting the code and everything from you guys for your M-Plan model to run the I-30 project stuff through M-Plan. So I think that's just a step that is, again, it's M-Plan is a clunky compared to REMI. And if you're not used to it, it can be, it's not real self-evident, and then you have to buy the user guide separately. So I don't know if you guys have done that yet or not. But
well, there are basically three. The way I think of it, there are three tools, and I understand pretty well the middle tool. So the first tool is the script to pull things out of the model, format it properly. The second tool is Feet, and then the third tool is M-Plan. I'm up to speed on the middle tool. M-Plan I am familiar with but haven't run, and the scripting tools I haven't used at all. So.
Okay.
Okay, Paul, if there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and just close it out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Paula. Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Paula.
Talk to you guys later.